Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Worlds Collide. My name is Mitch.
And I am Justin, and this is Season 2, Episode 16.
Thank you. I always lose track of what date, which episode we're on.
So many now.
Yeah, I know, right? So today's episode, we're doing Jessica Jones.
Yes. She's a little bit of a darker Marvel hero, but...
Very much so, but Stan Lee used to be a huge fan of heroes with major flaws. So if that's the case, then Jessica Jones would have been one of his favorite characters of all time.
Pretty flawed. To say the least. She has some quirks.
But yeah, we're gonna go over her. We're gonna go over her publication in history, and we're gonna go over her origin in the comics. We're gonna compare her comics origins to her Netflix show, and just talk about her impact in the comics world and what she meant to a lot of people. Why is it that she's such a popular character?
She's pretty popular, isn't she?
Yes, consider the fact that she didn't start until 2001.
Wow, so she's a really late bloomer.
Yeah.
You got her own kickoff special on Netflix. Was that 3 seasons, 4 seasons now?
3 seasons.
Yeah.
3.
I enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Not one of my favorites, but I enjoy it.
So I rank, for the Netflix shows, I rank tied at first would be Daredevil season 3, Punisher season 1.
Okay.
And Jessica Jones season 1.
Yeah, season 1 was really good. After season 1, I cared less.
Well, season 2 was still good, but just wasn't as good. Season 3 was excellent. Season 3 was really, really good.
Now, season 2 is with her and her mom, right?
Yes.
I don't know if I've seen 3.
No?
Maybe not. I'd have to double check on that. So if I haven't seen 3, I'm missing out, you're telling me.
Yes, you definitely should watch it.
All right, good. Another thing to finish there.
Yeah.
Now, she's been in a couple weird team ups. I want to say team ups, not teams.
Oh, she's been in multiple teams.
Which would be her most notable?
Her most notable is most notable would be a member of the Avengers, I guess, sort of, kind of. She was a member of the Mighty Avengers. I guess you're right. She was never really a member of any teams. She was never officially a member of the Avengers. She was never an official member of the Young Avengers. She's never
worked with them, but she's never really had a seat on the council or like, all right, we're getting the whole team together to call her. It's like
no.
You know.
Except more recently, actually.
What's happened more recently? What has she kind of substantiated a firm foothold in?
Well, we'll go over that, but she does. So for that to make sense, we actually have to talk about her character. So,
all right, lead us off. Start us from the beginning. Right, how is today's episode going to play out?
All right, so we're going to start off with, like I was saying, we're going to start off with her publication history and talk about like her first issues and what kind of impact that she's had, and then we're going to go over her character biography.
Okay, perfect. So, take us away. When did we first get to see her? 2001, you said?
Yeah, so her first appearance was in Alias, issue number 1 in 2001.
And Alias for Alias Investigations? Or?
That's right. Okay. That's right. So Alias is the name of her investigation firm, and you'll remember from the show that's what they called her investigation firm as well. It was Alias Investigations.
And she's a lot like Batman in the sense that she starts off as just a detective agency.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't start
as much Batman as she has.
Well, no, actually, the series starts off with her already a detective, already a private eye.
Are you talking about the comic?
Yeah, the Alias. Okay. Because they don't go into her origin until like 20 episodes in, kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
Like 20 issues in.
Standard fill in the blank later, right into the action kind of theme.
Yeah. Well, like they did touch on her origins a little bit, but in a dialogue between her and Luke Cage, she talks about how she became who she is. And so in that, you find out. So, well, we'll get into her origins in a second. So her first issue was Alias, issue number 1 in 2001, created by Brian Michael Bendis. You remember me talking about him?
Bendis.
Yeah, when we were talking about House of M.
Yes, all our X-Men comics. He was the one who really re-kicked off the franchise there.
Well, he did a lot. Yeah, like I said, I was saying in that episode, he's the one who started the Ultimate Spider-Man, the Ultimate Universe.
And the Ultimates they really got done right.
Yeah.
Considering to how clustered and convoluted the story and the history was for a lot of those characters.
Yeah, and Civil Wars because of Bendis as well. And so
he's a very notable writer.
Yeah. So in 2001, Marvel launched a series called Marvel Max. And Marvel Max was a series of comics that was written for adults. So there was always cursing in comics, but the cursing was always, or how do you pronounce that call name?
Blue.
But yes, where was I? Jessica Jones.
Darker.
Marvel Max. So in comics they would swear, but they would bleep out the swears with random special characters like the
expletive deleteds and
exactly
exclamation marks and stars and whatever.
Exactly. But in Marvel Max, if somebody was saying fuck, they wrote fuck in it. There was no censorship at all. There was nudity in there, and there's always been blood, but there was more graphic blood in Marvel Max. That's why you had Punisher in Marvel Max, and Jessica Jones got her start in Marvel Max, and some other. Pretty sure War Machine had a Marvel Max series as well.
Oh, War Machine's another good one I like. Yeah. Obviously I got introduced to him with the old Iron Man comic from, the cartoon, I guess, reiteration of it in the 90s again.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to War Machine. So that's when I was really stoked when we got that glimpse of him in the very first Iron Man. They kind of Easter egged it, like, hey, guess what? War Machine's coming. I'm like, yes.
Maybe next time.
Yes. Maybe next time you can come.
Nope, not you. You'll be replaced with Don Cheadle.
You got replaced. Would have liked to maybe see the original act. I just hate when they change.
Terrence, is his name?
Terrence Howard, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I like him as an actor. He's a really good actor.
Good War Machine? I don't know.
Actually, if you would ask me, because he's got a stockier build than Don Cheadle.
I think he would have been a better War Machine. Like Don looks too damn slim.
Yeah, I agree. But as much as I think that Howard is a good actor, Don Cheadle is probably a higher caliber actor.
He's just had more opportunity, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one of my first introductions to Terrence Howard, I believe, was Hustle and Flow. That's where he's basically a pimp trying to make his music career kick off. And like there's some high points to that movie. Like he brings it.
I remember that. One movie that stuck out for me, we're going on a tangent right now, but one movie that sticks out for me with Terrence Howard is a movie you probably have never heard of or seen, but it's called August Rush.
No, I'm not sure I've ever seen that one or heard of it.
So August Rush is about this kid, same kid who played the main kid in Searching for Neverland.
Yeah.
So in this kid, he's an orphan, and he grew up in an orphanage, and he's runs away from the orphanage, goes into New York to try and find his biological parents, and it's all about finding the music. Like he's got this natural affinity to music, and he believes that it's because both his parents were musicians, and they were musicians. His mom was a singer, and his dad was a guitar player for a rock band.
Okay.
And, so he's out in New York trying to find them, and he stumbles into this church and finds this big, huge, church organ, and that's where he meets Terrence Howard. Robin Williams is in there as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Yeah, August Rush.
All right, I'll take note.
Yes. All right. So back on subject. Okay, so Brian Michael Bendis debuted in Marvel Max. Blah blah blah. So Alias ran for 28 issues from 2001 to 2004, and after Alias, she hopped onto another series called Pulse, or The Pulse. Now, the reason why they did that is because in Marvel Max, everything is very much mature, and she had a following, she had a popularity. So Marvel wanted to bring her into the main continuity, but they couldn't do that with the level of violence and exploitives and whatnot that she was currently exposed to. So they transitioned her into Pulse, which kind of like the midway point kind of thing, and then she got introduced into like the main continuity after that.
It must be hard for a character to bring her so hard hitting,
yeah,
so impactful, so meaningful, and then have to bring it all back in, reel it in, tone it back. All right, it's a little much. Like you lose sense of who the original character was, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because my introduction to Jessica Jones was actually in Civil War. I didn't know who Jessica Jones was until I started reading Civil War, and then she was already with Luke Cage. So I had no idea who she was, and so that was my introduction to her. The character that's portrayed in the Netflix show and the character that was in Alias is nothing compared to the character that I was introduced to, because the one I was introduced to, she was already pregnant, and we'll get to that, and I'm skipping ahead, but she's already been domesticated compared to what she was in Alias and compared to what she was portrayed in Netflix.
Right. So in Netflix is a very toned back version, you'd say?
No, it's pretty honest to the Alias stuff.
Oh, so the original comic line versus where you got introduced was kind of Pulse era?
Yeah, even after Pulse.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Actually, no. What I was introduced to was Pulse.
Okay, so post-Pulse brought Jessica Jones in Civil War. She's pregnant with Luke Cage, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but we'll get to that. I'm skipping ahead. So originally, Alias was going to be and this makes sense because I always get these two names confused. So originally, when Brian Bendis when Bendis wanted to start Alias Investigations, the Alias comic series, his original plan was to have Jessica Drew as a star of Alias, but he felt that where he wanted to bring the comic, Jessica Drew already has an established backstory and everything he wanted to do would not have made sense to her character. So he created a whole new character rather than making Jessica Drew as the main character.
Who's Jessica Drew?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask that, and a lot of the viewers are going to be asking that as well. Jessica Drew is Spider-Woman.
Oh.
Yes.
And she was originally supposed to star Alias.
Yes, but she already has a backstory. She's already been part of the Marvel continuity for 20 some odd years.
And because the purpose of Alias is essentially they have a detective agency set up for other supers and powered people to go say, hey, I have a problem. Kind of like Heroes for Hire.
Sort of, but not really supers. It's just anybody. It is supposed to be a detective comic series starring a superhero. A superpowered being, not even a superhero, a superpowered being, because Jessica Jones is not a superhero.
Correct. She's a very self-serving individual.
Yes. Now, the reason why, and we'll get to that when we talk about her origin, but the reason why she was so popular and so impactful is because the reason why I like her so much as well is because she, more than most other characters, represents anybody who's ever felt, if you've ever felt oppressed, if you've ever felt like control has been taken away from you, if you feel like you've ever been taken advantage of, Jessica Jones is the comic for you.
That makes a lot of sense because it's a hard-hitting realism comic where it's not aliens, it's not, something post-era that's happened 80 years ago. It's not super explosions or catastrophic events. It's rape, trauma, orphanage,
somebody being victimized,
abuse, physical, mental.
Yeah.
It's the daily struggles that we are like, ignore that. You're a superhero. You're above that. No, not this one.
Her story is harsh. and it's more harsh because they take real aspects like that. Like, well, real. I mean, there's still comic elements to it, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So, anyways, let's talk about her origin. And the Netflix series is pretty close to the comics. So, she wasn't born Jessica Jones. I read up on her family name, but she wasn't Jessica Jones. She was born Jessica something, blah blah blah. But she went to Midtown High, same high school as Peter Parker. As a matter of fact, she went to school with Peter Parker, and she had a crush on Peter Parker while they were in high school together. She was there when Peter Parker got bit by the spider.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so, okay. So she's a really interesting character in the sense that she's always been there, and we didn't even know.
That's right.
She's always been a C-lister. Like, you don't even see her in the audience.
Yeah.
She's behind the audience. She's in the hallway. She's out there crying in the hall, eating her lunch in the bathroom alone. But she's there when Flash is, picking on Peter.
Yeah. As a matter of fact. So, okay. So, after Peter gets bit by the spider, but in between when he got bit by the spider and before he becomes Spider-Man kind of thing, Jessica's dad worked for Tony Stark. He worked for Stark Industries, and Stark Industries gave them free pass to Disney World or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's Disney World. So they took a trip to Disney World, and on their way back, their vehicle got hit by a oncoming military convoy transporting these radioactive chemicals. And the crash killed her parents and left Jessica Jones in a coma, or Jessica at this point here, in a coma.
Okay, and how old is she at that point in time?
Well, same age as Peter Parker was when he got bit, so roughly 16 years old.
Oh, okay, because see, in the show on Netflix, that shows that she's young. She's like younger than like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why she's like, I don't remember. I don't know. I'm an orphan. Like, she can't piece any of the memories together of the event.
Yeah.
But her being older would make for a much better story and more to write about. So that makes more sense. I'm glad that she's Peter's age.
Yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, so she was in a coma for several months, actually. So when she woke up from her coma, she found out that her parents were dead, and she is now being adopted by the Jones family. So that's where the name Jones comes from.
Yeah, I'll try and find out what her original name was here as you keep going.
Sure. So after she gets she adopts the name Jones, she gets put back in, and she goes back to high school. She goes back to Midtown High. But now she's getting ridiculed by the bullies at Midtown High. She gets ridiculed by Flash. She gets bullied by Flash, and people calling her Coma Girl. Yeah, and as she's like distraught and in tears and upset, Peter Parker tries to talk to her, and at this point, Peter Parker is now Spider-Man. His Uncle Ben has died, so he goes to talk to her because to him they're a kindred spirit. She just lost her family and he just lost his uncle, so to him they are kindred spirit, but she doesn't know that. She thinks because she had a crush on Peter and he never paid attention to her. Now all of a sudden this tragedy happens and Peter gives her pays attention to her, so she thinks that he's just pitying her and he's just going to make fun of her. So she lashes out at him and runs away, kind of thing.
Jesus. Yeah. Like you can definitely feel where she's coming from, but
yeah. But so after that, as she runs away, she tries to. I think for some reason she ended up jumping, but she doesn't know about her powers yet. So she jumped and she ended up jumping all the way into like the Manhattan River or whatever. And then. And she ended up getting rescued by Thor.
What?
Yeah. Because unlike the show, Jessica could actually fly in the comics.
Oh. She doesn't know any of this because she just got her power. She's kind of just going through the trials, so to speak.
That's right. So she finds out about it. So after she does that, she finds out that she's like, what the fuck was that? So she starts experimenting and realizes that she's got superpowers. Like she goes and picks up her bike, lifts up the bike like it's nothing. And then she goes and picks up a car, and the car is like weighing nothing kind of thing. And so realizing that she's like, she's resistant to injury, and she's super strong, and she can fly.
Some pretty standard, decent powers.
Yeah, yeah. And then after watching a fight between Spider-Man and Sandman at Midtown High, that's what inspired her to be a superhero.
Jewel, I believe.
Yeah. So she created this. Yeah.
Her very short-lived superhero career that she tried to use her abilities for positive ends and didn't quite get what she wanted out of it.
Yeah. And funny enough, they actually make a reference to that in the Netflix show. And when I was doing my research, I forgot about this scene altogether, but it's funny because this scene does happen where Jessica's best friend, Trish, is trying to get her to become a superhero. So she's presenting her different costumes. And one of the costumes is the Jewel costume. And she makes a suggestion. Why don't you go to get a superhero name like Jewel? And Jessica Jones in the Netflix show is like, Jewel? That's the name of like a really cheesy stripper name.
And then I remember that. One. They do the throwback to Trish for her old whatever outfit because she's a hero of some sorts too.
She's Wildcat.
Wildcat, yes.
Hi, Mom.
Hello. Oh, Jessica Campbell.
Oh,
Jessica Campbell.
It's her birthday.
Later, Jessica Jones. Later, Jessica Campbell Jones Cage.
Yes. Yes.
That's the progression of Jessica.
Yes. So she creates her suit, goes by the name Jewel, but her superhero career was very uneventful. She didn't have any supervillains. She fought like street level crime kind of thing until one day she finds out about a disturbance at a restaurant. And at that restaurant, this disturbance is this guy sitting, or this group of people fighting each other inside this restaurant while this guy with purple skin is just sitting there enjoying his meal. You're muted.
Purple skin?
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't have purple skin.
No, he didn't. No, except
not in the show.
Except there was one episode where something happened. I don't remember what it was, but he was bathed in the purple light. Made me think that maybe they're gonna give him the purple skin, and like it was like the second last episode.
Yeah.
So I thought they were gonna give him his purple skin just for the last episode, but no, it never happened.
Well, it's just like it's a comic book thing. It's not really needed in Netflix.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
But we didn't mention who the hell is it?
So this purple man is Zebediah Kilgrave.
Ooh, and he's a baddie.
Yes. So people who watch the Netflix show, Kilgrave is the one that was the main villain of the first season, portrayed by David Tennant.
Yes, good actor for that guy.
Yeah. He nailed it. He did such an amazing job.
Got under your skin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so as we're going to talk about it, so I wasn't sure if we could fill a full hour on Jessica Jones, so I did some research on Purple Man as well, just slight research. We might do a full episode on Purple Man later on, maybe. But Purple Man's been going on since 2000. Purple Man is much older. Purple Man, his first appearance.
That is his moniker.
Yeah, Purple Man is his supervillain name.
That's such a bad name. That's probably one of the worst names I've ever heard. Purple Man. Yeah. Purple Man. How'd you get your name? Well, you see, I'm purple. And a man.
Oh, would you rather him go by California Raisin?
Can't you just be Kilgrave?
Kilgrave is a better villain name, right?
Right? Just be Kilgrave. Use your last name, dummy.
It's a villain name by itself.
Right? Like,
but yeah, Purple Man had been around. He's a Daredevil villain, and his first appearance was in Daredevil number 4 in 1964.
Whoa, so he's an oldie. He's been kicking for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his great power is mind control, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, but his mind control is more than just like Xavier or Jean Grey or anything like that. Some mind controls, you're being mind controlled. Zebediah Kilgrave, his is caused by a pheromone, first of all, so it's not like a mental attack. It's not like he's psychic or anything like that. He exudes a pheromone that forces people to obey him, but it's more than just forcing. It doesn't force him. Force him is not the right word. When he makes you, when he first sees, so Jessica Jones shows up at this restaurant, and as she tries to stop the Purple Man sees her and thinks that she's gorgeous. So his first thing is he stops her. Like, she stops dead in her tracks, and he tells her to take off her clothes, and she starts to take off her clothes. And it's not that he's forcing this on her. She wants to take off her clothes for him.
Very
so
strange.
Yeah, so like I said, it's not that he's forcing his. Well, it's more of he's forcing his will on you than he's forcing your actions. He's not controlling your actions. He's controlling your will.
He told you to get to this result. How you do it is up to you.
Pretty much. So Jessica Jones is talking to Luke Cage as she's describing this to him, what Kilgrave did to her. And so here's the things that he's done to her. So before she got fully undressed, cops started showing up at the restaurant. So he told her to stop and told her to go take care of the cops. And then they get away together. And then she ends up being under Kilgrave's control for 8 months. And in that 8 months, Luke Cage asked her, so he had his way with you. And she's like, no, he never touched me, not once. Didn't kiss me, didn't hug me, we didn't have sex. There's no physical contact between Kilgrave and Jessica Jones. What he did do was he would go and kidnap college girls and impose his will on them, forcing them to do sexual acts on him, and makes Jessica Jones want to take part in it, and he never lets her take part in it.
What?
Yeah. And even when there was no college girls around, he would make her want to give sexual pleasure to Kilgrave, and he always denies her.
That's weird.
Yeah, right?
Super weird. It's
right?
Like he's training Stockholm syndrome.
Pretty much.
That's super weird.
So this goes on for 8 months. And then eventually he sees that news footage of Daredevil, and his hatred of his arch nemesis Daredevil takes over, and he tells Jessica Jones to go and kill Daredevil for him. And so she flies off to go after Daredevil. But the thing is that his pheromones have a limited range. The further away she goes, the less in control he is of her. So, and the more she becomes more of herself again. So, but not enough, because when she gets to the Avengers mansion, she sees this figure. She thinks it's Daredevil. It's actually Scarlet Witch, and she ends up attacking Scarlet Witch. And yeah, you can see where this went. So Vision ended up pummeling the shit out of her, and a bunch of Avengers actually they ended up fighting her, and the one who ends up saving her was Carol Danvers.
Carol Danvers,
yeah, because Carol Danvers was actually friends with Jessica Jones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they actually knew each other before all this, and
she saves her.
Yeah, so she ends up saving her. But there was a side effect, kind of like a withdrawal side effect to Purple Man's pheromones.
Yeah.
If like for Jessica Jones, who's been around him for 8 months, now away from his control, these pheromones no longer controlling her, and probably a combination of getting her ass kicked by Vision and all that, she goes into a coma.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah. And then when she wakes up, let me go to my notes here. 1 second. Cringe, blah, blah, blah. So while she's in the coma, Jean Grey from the X-Men shows up at the hospital, and she goes into Jessica's mind and helps her get out of this coma. And when Jessica Jones gets out of this coma, Jean Grey puts a mental block in Jessica Jones' brain to help her protect herself against any further mind control. So anybody who tries to mind control Jessica Jones, she now has a protection against it, thanks to Jean Grey.
All right, that's pretty handy. I wonder how long that withholds, keeps up its potency.
Forever. Even after Jean Grey's death, because later on, Kilgrave shows back up, and he's still obsessed with Jessica Jones. He tries to take control of her again, but Jean Grey's mental blocks take over and prevents it, and she ends up beating the snot out of him.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah. He gets his upcomings.
It's super weird though. If he's so obsessed with her, why did he make her just want but not have?
Because it's a dominance thing. He's obsessed with her.
He wanted to reciprocate the obsession that he had with her for her to have of him.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was going for. He wanted her to want him as bad as he wanted her. But if he just took it, it'll never happen.
Yeah. It might also have something to do with, so I did a little bit of research on his origin. And so in his origin, he ends up, before Jessica Jones, he ends up meeting this woman and did pretty much the same thing with her. He took control of her, made her fall in love with him. And, but eventually he fell in love with her. And so he turned off his powers. He let her be her own person. And when he does that, she realizes what he's done to her this entire time and denounces him, hates him.
Well, yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
Dumbass.
Yeah. And Kilgrave was actually a Russian spy, I believe. We'll have to do more research on Kilgrave. This is not an episode on Kilgrave. This is an episode on Jessica Jones. But
I got all these questions now. How do you become purple?
Yeah. Well, him is because from chemicals once again.
Chemicals.
So
they fixed all their problems back there between the 60s and 2000s. Just give it some chemicals.
Yep. Because science. Because comics are weird.
Where does that bring us to now? Basically, that brought us through Alias into Pulse into.
So no, we haven't even gotten into Pulse yet.
Shit.
So right now so after all of that happened, mental blocks got put into her by Jean Grey, and then Carol Danvers ends up hooking up Jessica Jones with Scott Lang. And they dated for 8-9 months.
That was on again, off again with the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. But her mind was still all fucked up from everything that happened with Kilgrave, right?
I can imagine it will be that way for a while, 8 months, just not thinking your own thoughts. They're your thoughts, but they're not. They didn't occur naturally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is where she became an alcoholic and she abused drugs, and this is when she started her Alias investigations and became a private investigator. And then one day when she was stopping a meeting so she had one more stint of heroism, and that was when she tries to stop the Owl with a meeting with a mafioso. And
the Owl isn't the Owl.
So the Owl was in Daredevil. And he is a Daredevil villain, also a Spider-Man villain. Spider-Man and Daredevil share a lot of villains. The Owl is one of them. In the Netflix show, in the first season, he was the accountant, Owlsley.
Right.
So he was never the Owl in the Netflix show. Because in the Netflix show, he's actually a formidable villain. It's kind of like the Vulture. He could fly, and he keeps these metal talons on his hand to attack people and whatnot. Anyways, and he's pretty big in the mafia world.
Okay.
He's another Hammerhead or another Tombstone or another Kingpin.
Oh, high up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then we didn't really see his villain portrayed.
No, not at all. No, how he's portrayed in the Netflix series is not how Owlsley is in the comics.
There's the slight, Easter egg reference to him, but that's about it.
That's it, exactly. So, anyways, Jessica Jones, while she was trying to meet a meeting between the Owl and this mafioso, that's where she meets Luke Cage, and they start their fling. So their fling was never anything emotional. It was just unleashing their sexual desires for each other. That's all it was.
All right.
Yeah. But eventually she does end up getting pregnant with Luke Cage, and that's when they actually decide to become an actual couple. And
but prior to that, it was just on again, off again, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we see in the Netflix show.
That's right.
Them on again, off again. They're there when they need it, but they're not really a couple.
Yeah. So the pulse happens after all of this happens. So she's pregnant when the pulse starts. And in the pulse, she's actually working for the Daily Bugle as a superhero consultant. And then she ends up quitting the pulse when J. Jonah Jameson started, as J. Jonah Jameson do, started slurring the Avengers, started bashing the new Avengers, because her boyfriend, the father of her child, Luke Cage, is a member of the new Avengers. So, and when J. Jonah Jameson starts spreading slurs against the new Avengers, because Spider-Man is also a member of the new Avengers, that's when she quit. She told Jameson off. She told him that he's not a good person and he's not a good reporter, blah blah blah. She straight up tells him to go fuck himself.
Duly noted. Probably should.
Yeah. And then that's when she goes into the main continuity kind of thing. Okay,
and then boom, Pulse. She's real. She's developed. She has history.
Yeah. And then she has their child, and they have a daughter.
What's her name? Do we know?
Yeah, Danielle, named after Danny Rand. Yeah, because Luke Cage and Danny Rand are legit best friends in comics. So
right.
Yeah, so they named their daughter after Luke Cage's best friend.
That's awesome. Now, does the daughter have any relevant powers? Do we see her later in comics? It's probably too new still.
It's too new still. I'm pretty sure she's still an infant.
That's what I'm thinking. If Jessica only got released in 2001, it's giving us that's probably still infant stages for the child.
Yeah, because Alias finished in 2004. Then Pulse ran. I figure Pulse went until 2005. And then Civil War. She gave birth just before Civil War, and after that. So you had Civil War, then you had the Secret Invasion, then you had Siege. So yeah, the kid would be in real time age would be 15 years old, roughly. In real time age. In comic book age, 15 is 5 maybe?
5. Say 5.
Yeah. So
that brought us basically to Civil War, where you started reading.
Yeah, exactly. So Civil War is when I got introduced to the character, and in Civil War, we should do an episode on Civil War because it's so different to the movie Civil War.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! It's totally different teams.
It's much larger in scale. But in the comic book version of Civil War, it's the government forcing people anybody with superpowers, good or bad, to register with the government. And Jessica Jones, so Luke Cage was against this, and Luke Cage was on Captain America's side, which is against the registration. Luke Cage was pretty much Captain America's biggest supporter on this. But Jessica Jones, nursing a newborn, can't be involved in all this. So she tried to hide in Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. But Doctor Strange's home got invaded by the Hood, and a fight ensued there. So that led her to believe that she can't be safe anywhere. So she ends up registering for the Registration Act and then moving to Canada.
She's going to get out of town.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
With Danielle.
Now, our MCU's Ultron-based Civil War, was that relevant to the comic? Like, was Ultron involved in Civil War?
No, not even the least. But
Okay.
Ultron wasn't involved. Oh well. Well, the only thing Ultron was involved for Civil War was the Sokovia. It was the dropping of the island.
Right.
But no, that has nothing. No, the equivalent to that was when Nitro blew up the school.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll do an episode on Civil War to show
Sounds
the
good.
difference between the two.
Right. Okay.
So after that happened, it was the secret invasion, where the Skrulls invaded Earth and whatnot. Jessica Jones was one of the people that was replaced by a Skrull, but she was involved a little bit. Like she helped here and there, but she was never a major player. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because after when all the event of secret invasion was done, the Skrull that was impersonating Jarvis ends up disappearing with Danielle.
Jarvis, as in like Tony Stark's
Butler.
Jarvis?
Yeah. Because remember, in the comics, Jarvis is an actual human being.
Oh, right. Whereas he's just a software thing.
Yeah. So the Jarvis the Skrull Jarvis, because not even the real Jarvis, it's the Skrull pretending to be Jarvis, disappear with Danielle. And this leads to Siege. And in Siege, you find out that Luke Cage actually hired Norman Osborn to try and help him in finding Danielle. And Norman Osborn succeeds in finding Danielle and bringing her back to them. Now, the reason why this is ironic is because one thing I didn't mention is while she was part of the Pulse, she was the one who exposed Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin to everybody. She wrote a paper on how Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin.
Oh, so he was really reluctant to help them.
Yeah, well, I didn't read Siege. That was when I became broke and I couldn't buy comics. I read all of Civil War and I read most of the Secret Invasion, but I didn't even finish the Secret Invasion and I didn't read anything from Siege.
Okay, all right. Well,
so I don't really know how that interaction went, but I know that she wasn't very happy with Luke Cage. Luke Cage did that behind her back, and this was a time where Norman Osborn. So a lot of people who are watching this probably have no idea about this, but the hero, the big hero of the Secret Invasion, the one that saved Earth from the Skrulls, was Norman Osborn.
That's crazy.
And because of that, Norman Osborn ended up gaining control of S.H.I.E.L.D., renamed it to Hammer, I'm pretty sure, and created his own Avengers, the Dark Avengers, created his own X-Men, the Dark X-Men, and like Siege was all because of Norman Osborn. And also, I think Norman Osborn has something to do with Fear itself as well. Like, yeah, Norman Osborn became a big player during this series.
Sounds like he should be one of our next topics.
Trust me, I really want to do an episode on Norman Osborn. He's one of my favorite villains. Easily one of my favorite villains.
It's like we always tell our viewers, for anyone watching now, if there's anyone you want to see, hear about, or an event that you want to discover, let us know. Post a comment. We'll tackle it.
Yeah. See the excitement in my face? I really like Norman Osborn. He's a good character.
Green Goblin, yeah. He is a Spidey freak.
I am.
Is a blanket behind him?
Yep. So after that, they're reunited with Danielle, this is when Spider-Man reveals to the new Avengers, that he's actually Peter Parker. And that's when Jessica Jones reveals, like, she's like, I used to have a crush on you. And like they have this conversation, and Peter tells her that he doesn't even remember her at all. Like she remembers him because she had a crush on him, but to him, like he remembers Coma Girl, but he didn't recognize her as Coma Girl, and he didn't really remember her as didn't remember her real name.
He walks up, hey, remember me? I'm Coma Girl. I remember Coma Girl, but I don't remember you.
Exactly, pretty much. So she was a little miffed that he doesn't remember her, even though she had a crush on him. But then when she told him that the reason why she became a seer to begin with is because she saw him fighting Sandman. And that's when Peter told her, you ever thought about going back to being a superhero? To show your daughter how to be a good person, not just talking about the good old days, but actually leading by example.
I like it.
So after Siege, this is when she started becoming superhero again. And so she joined a couple of groups. I forgot what groups they were and whatnot. But I'm missing.
Bedazzled.
Yeah, I'm missing something. There's something in here. Where was it? Before all of this, I might have skipped over it. Actually, I definitely skipped over it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, right there. But so before all of this, rewind. One more important thing is her association to the Young Avengers. I wanted to mention.
Okay.
So before Civil War, Luke and Jessica got married, and there was this one story where Jessica Jones ends up joining the Young Avengers. You'll remember when we did our episode on Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Doctor Doom ends up fighting the Young Avengers and accidentally killing Cassie Lang, Stature. Yeah. Jessica Jones was part of this story. She was there when Doctor Doom killed Cassie Lang. At the end of this story, you have Hulkling hugging Jessica Jones.
Because they're both just in mourning, like
exactly
death.
Exactly.
Who's Hulkling again? I can't remember who the hell that
Hulkling
is.
was the Skrull who looks like Hulk, who was the lover of Scarlet Witch's son.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the other, like, Jessica Jones dated Scott Lang, and that was his daughter. It's Cassie Lang.
Yeah. Okay, so there's some heartfelt moments there.
Yeah.
Scott ain't gonna be happy.
No. So that brings us to now. So, like, she hasn't been a major player in any story other than her own stories.
Right.
But since, like, Alias and since Pulse, she has never been a major player in the comics, but she's always been there. Like, she's friends with Carol Danvers. She's friends with Jessica Drew, because when she went back to being a superhero, one of those teams was with Jessica Drew.
Okay.
So her and Jessica Drew ended up teaming up together with an actual team and whatnot. And she's been somewhat a supporting cast member of the Heroes for Hire when the Heroes for Hire were like
Duke and Iron Fist.
Well, the post Civil War Heroes for Hire. Yeah, it was Luke Cage, Iron Fist. It was Jessica Jones. It was Misty Knight. Okay. And one more, I think, another female. I think.
Well, did she ever pair up with like
Wildcats?
Remember we had the Defenders?
Mm-hmm.
Who was that? That was Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and who? There's another one.
That was the four in the Netflix show you're talking about?
Yeah.
It was the four.
Okay.
Unless you're talking about Iron Fist's girlfriend in the show.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the fifth, I think.
Yeah. And blanking on her name right now, even though we talked about her. She dated Cyclops for a bit.
Did she?
Yeah. I talked about her in the Cyclops episode.
That's crazy. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So this brings us to pretty much the point where, like, in current continuum, what's Jessica up to now?
Right now, I think she's just part of a team up. I'm pretty sure. Still just a bit player. She's still with Luke Cage. They're still married. They're still taking care of Daniel. When she decided to go back to being a superhero, they end up hiring Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl to be Danielle's nanny.
Squirrel Girl?
Yeah.
As the nanny. That's great.
Yeah. You know who Squirrel Girl is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Super strong.
Yeah, well.
Kinda.
She's super strong, like One Punch Man is super strong. Super strong because comedy demands it.
Yes. Just kill him.
Yeah.
With squirrel power.
Did you know that Squirrel Girl has defeated Thanos and Galactus?
I've heard. But I have yet to see.
Yeah.
She's one of those characters that, I don't know. She's just there for the comedic relief.
Pretty much. But, yeah, so, and then that brings us to the Netflix show. Jessica Jones in the Netflix show was excellent. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of it that they didn't take out of the comics. Like she was not friends with Hellcat in the comics. That role was
Hellcat or Hellcat?
Hellcat. Sorry,
Hellcat.
yeah. That role really should have been to Carol Danvers. As a matter of fact, a lot of people thought, like before the first season of Jessica Jones hit Netflix, there was a lot of people hoping that Carol Danvers was going to make an appearance in the Jessica Jones Netflix show. A lot of people were hoping that Scott Lang was going to make an appearance in the Jessica Jones Netflix
Never
show.
happened.
Nope, never happened with any of those characters.
Now is season 3 the cutoff? It's done there.
Yeah, it's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I gotta finish strong and see what they got left. And other than that, yeah, we'll see what more comics have for Jessica's story going forward. I know Luke is another. I kind of like the Luke Cage show more than Jessica, but it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
What was the problem I found with that? It was like, where do we go from here? It's been done.
Yeah.
Same thing with Black Lightning. Again, it's kind of like,
truth be told, I never watched an episode of Black Lightning. I should really watch that.
It's not bad, but the writing and the story feels forced.
Yeah. That was
like, I don't know. These are my first introductions to Luke Cage and to Black Lightning, and they weren't as well done as I could have hoped.
Yeah. One team up I always wanted to read is Luke Cage and Thing. Yeah, but the reason why is because they're both super strong. They're both non-invulnerable. And they're both very known for their love of their neighborhood in New York. So Luke Cage with his love of Harlem, and Thing for Yancey Street, I believe is where he grew up. And apparently Yancey Street is a very rough neighborhood as well. So I always felt like Luke Cage and Thing would actually make a really good duo. Like they make sense together, I find.
I think you're right, but I feel like it would just be like a Double Dragons team up. It's the two of the identical guys, right?
Pretty much.
So it's like whatever is going on over here on scene A, it's the exact same thing on scene B, but he's black and he's orange. It's the same shit.
Pretty much.
Like, great idea. Longevity, horrible.
Yeah.
They'll write themselves into a corner so goddamn fast.
Yeah. Now what? I don't know.
They get mind control to fight each other again.
Yeah.
They already did that 4 times.
Yeah. Which they ran into that problem with Thing versus Hulk. They've done that so many times.
Yeah, it's like they're too matched. Like they're too identical. It's like we need more diversity to actually give you a fucking story here.
Which is why Luke Cage and Iron Fist made sense.
And they do, yeah. Okay. So I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, that wraps up the episode on Jessica Jones.
All right. Now, in the comics, does it touch base on her mom the way the show does?
No.
All right.
Her mom was not a thing in the comics. Or if it was, I didn't read up on it. I didn't read anything about it.
The whole season 2 is kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah, pretty much.
What the hell? Like this, I hate this.
Yeah.
Not enjoy season 2.
If there's any reason to enjoy season 2, and I would say even better in season 3 is Carrie Ann Moss. Her character, that's one thing we didn't mention. If anybody who has not seen Jessica Jones, watch it. Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones does an amazing job. If you've been a Doctor Who fan, David Tennant as Zebediah Kilgrave kills it in season 1. And throughout the 3 seasons, you have Carrie Ann Moss playing the lawyer. Blanking on her name right now.
Fuck, wasn't she a Trinity?
Yeah, she was Trinity in Matrix.
Yeah.
But in Jessica Jones, Carrie Ann Moss was...
Trying to think who she play here.
Jerry Hogarth.
Airy.
Yeah, Hogarth.
Because she got the kickoff to that, actually. Was it Iron Fist or was it Jessica?
Jessica came out first. It was it was Daredevil, and then Jessica was a second Netflix show. But I think Hogarth may have made an appearance in Daredevil before she made an appearance in Jessica Jones. Maybe. I don't quite remember anymore. If she made an appearance in Daredevil before Jessica Jones or not.
Well, I'm pretty sure here. I'm reading that it was originally supposed to be Jaren Hogarth, like a male.
Okay.
And they switched it over to Jerry Hogarth, a female, for the show.
All right. Cool. Hey, they got Carrie Ann Moss, so bonus.
Yeah, she's a great actress. She actually does a wicked job.
Yeah. Yeah, and she not that her Trinity was bad or anything like that, but her Trinity was very emotionless.
Oh,
although you know what, Hogarth is pretty emotionless too, but not quite. Like she has rage and she has anger and she has arrogance,
despair.
Yeah, and like
anger.
Carrie Ann Moss portrays that very well.
Oh yeah, she does a great job.
Yeah, it's really well acted show. I really recommend watching it.
Definitely worth a peek. Watch season 1. If you want to carry on after that, that's up to you.
Yeah. And for anybody who wants to get into comics, if you'll notice when we posted this on Facebook, everybody who liked it were all of our female friends because Jessica Jones really hit home with a lot of female viewers. So if you ever wanted to get into comics, Alias Investigations, it went on for a couple of years. You could get trades of them if you wanted to read it. I recommend it. The trades is the combination. Yeah, I recommend it.
Definitely. Okay, so that covers this episode. And next week, I believe we're at a little bit of a headway. We don't know who we're going to do. Should we be doing Green Goblin or Mr. Sinister?
Well, are we going to do 2 Marvel back to back? I guess why not? We can do two Marvel back to back.
Who we want?
I would rather do Green Goblin. Who is it? Or Mr. Sinister? I like them both actually. They're both really good characters.
All right, then why don't we stagger? Okay, give me a DC character to do week 2.
Okay. DC character that we have not done yet that's been portrayed in the movies. I want to keep it with that, portrayed in the movies or the TV shows. So we can do
Twitch.
What's that?
Up on Twitch, there's a poll for Mr. Sinister, Captain America, Mandarin, Bane, or Norman Osborn.
Okay. That's a good only one DC character and all that, but whatever, that's fine. If he ends up winning, then he ends up winning. But if he doesn't, then so be it. Those are all excellent characters. So there we go. That's our vote. That's our poll. So read it again, Kenny.
On Twitch. Hit up the poll. We'll try and provide another update for how the poll is going along this week.
Yeah.
We can also post it. Yeah, we can also post it on our Facebook and Instagram, and we'll let people know.
Yeah.
So it's just right above the chat section on the Twitch viewer page. It's Mr. Sinister, Captain America, Mandarin, Bane, or Norman Osborn.
Only one hero in there too.
Yeah, it's a good one. Cap can fight them all off, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, cast your vote, guys.
Not sure if you guys saw my note, but Danielle Cage does actually become Captain America for a bit.
Oh.
But her powers are still undetermined.
Oh. And
so she does grow up.
New Avengers. Nice.
Grew up real quick then, huh?
Nice. It makes sense that she'd be super strong, being her dad being Luke Cage and her mom being Jessica Jones. Two super strong. Luke Cage is more invulnerable than she is, but she's still resistant to damage, and she could fly. So I could see that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, cast your vote, guys. They are up on the Twitch page, and you got a week. So post your vote anywhere you can, and we'll do a tally as of next Saturday. Hope to see you guys here. Thanks for tuning in, even though we are not going live in our usual setup. Hopefully we don't have too many more weeks of this, and we're back to our usual routine.
Crossing my fingers and toes.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Signing off. I'm Justin.
I'm Mitch.
This is Worlds Collide. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers.